welcome
Hello.
to a very special
Bonusode.
A bonusode, our first one, a bonus episode of Terror in Tandem.
We wanted to cut out all the noise and give you guys a real rapid fire list of how to get into the mood.
Yeah, I mean, it's spooky season.
October.
And basically every streaming service out there has their own curated collection of horror movies. And boy, we've come a long way since when I was a kid, and the horror section in Blockbuster was like half a shelf. Now every streaming service has this big, themed collection, and we thought it might be helpful. It can be pretty overwhelming, so we're just going to do some rapid fire recommendations for whatever streaming service you subscribe to. You can hop into any one of these and have a good time.
Yeah, and if you like what we are recommending and maybe don't have that streamer, check and see if it's located somewhere else.
Yeah, do the research.
Yeah. Well, just see what you have.
Exactly.
We did the research for you.
We did with our brains, filled with brain juice. So, brain juice, would you like?
I thought you were going to go first.
I'm going to go first. Let's start with the OG, with Netflix. What's on Netflix right now? And I'm going to start with a little bit of a cheat. Why not start off with cheating? I'm going to say literally anything by Mike Flanagan.
Oh, yeah, that's on my list.
Great. So
I specifically am going to say The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes, I would agree that, well, for me, The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass they're neck and neck in terms of quality, and Haunting of Hill House might be a little scarier. Bly Manor is also incredible. Midnight Club we haven't watched yet, but I can't imagine it's not any good. And any one of his movies that are on Netflix. Mike Flanagan, honestly, just type it in and watch whatever. It's all good.
My next recommendation is a surprise to me because I just wrapped it up. The Watcher on Netflix.
The show?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Starring Bobby Cannavale and Naomi Watts and Jennifer Coolidge. We all love her, but also and notably Mia Farrow. And just quickly, I'm not going to deep dive on it because you can read all about it.
I didn't know she was in that.
Oh, yeah. And she's amazing. It's almost as if, and this is why I wanted to recommend it, it's almost as if she's getting revenge on how she was once treated in Rosemary's Baby by all of the people and neighbors. And now she is one of the culprits.
Holy shit.
She's now the gaslighter.
So in the Laura multiverse of Rosemary's Baby and The Watcher, this is like a legacy sequel in a way?
I mean, it's not a direct one-to-one, but
no,
it's
of course.
Definitely how much was Mia Farrow gaslit in Rosemary's Baby by all of the neighbors. Now she's one of the neighbors doing the gaslighting to an extreme amount, and it's incredible. She's awesome. It's just a quirky, weird, based on true events. And you'll see what I mean if you watch it. It's great.
Awesome.
I thought it was really a great watch.
Listen, you had me at Mia Farrow, honestly. That's fantastic. So there's going to be a little bit of a running theme for me. I'm going to be mentioning the same director on a few different streaming services, but my next one for Netflix is The Ritual. It's a movie directed by David Bruckner. It's based on the novel by Aaron Neville. It's about a group of like 30-somethings, early 40-something men, friends, and their friendship has frayed because of a tragedy that occurred between them. So they all make this sort of like last-ditch attempt to save their friendship by going out in the woods, and not everybody's great at that, and they end up running into a pretty frightening ancient presence. It's a fantastic movie. It's very scary. Actually, I've read the book, and it's a rare case where I believe the movie was an improvement on the book. It cuts out a subplot from the book that really tightens the film. So The Ritual on Netflix. It's a little bit folk horror, but not too much. It's very light on folk horror.
That's it for me for Netflix.
Oh, I've got one more Netflix, and it's Apostle. That is a folk horror starring Dan Stevens. It's directed by Gareth Evans, that folks might know from the Raid movies. Apostle, it's like it's a similar set up to The Wicker Man. It takes place in a remote island with a sort of pagan cult, and Dan Stevens is looking for his missing sister. It is very scary.
Excellent.
Very cool. Good stuff. It's just called Apostle.
Next up, Peacock.
Peacock.
They have actually a dubbed Halloween section.
Oh, yeah.
Called Halloween Horror.
And it is stacked.
Yes. And we minimize that stack for you. So first up for me is the movie Sinister.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's Scott Derrickson and stars Ethan Hawke. It's definitely frightening. It's a good, pretty enrapturing movie.
Solid entry for a modern classic.
Just the very, very ending.
Sure.
Maybe
I know
turn it off 1 second before it ends and you'll be
mean.
happy. But other than that, I thought it was a really great
we were talking
thriller.
earlier in an earlier episode about how there hasn't been like a new slasher icon introduced, but Bagul, the demon in Sinister and Sinister 2, is kind of a new monster. He's not a slasher, but like he's a brand new monster that has, I don't know, sort of caught on a little bit. Sinister rules. So for Peacock, for me, I'm going to recommend the rebooted Halloween trilogy. It started off with 2018's Halloween, move on to 2021's Halloween Kills, and then Halloween Ends, which just came out
a couple days ago.
Yeah, I feel like it just came out, didn't it? So I haven't seen the last one yet. Big fan of Halloween. I was kinder to Halloween Kills than I think a lot of other people were. I do see it as the middle entry, so it stumbled a bit, but it's still pretty entertaining. I just think Jamie Lee Curtis is finally getting the send off her character deserves, and
Excellent.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
My next is The Invitation from 2015, not the one out in theaters.
The Karen Kusama film.
Yes.
Yes.
Starring Logan Marshall Green.
I love this movie.
Who's really great. And the movie is a slow burn. Basically, a man accepts an invitation to a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife, and there's a bunch of weird things that happen, and it gets really tense, but also frightening.
And like all good slow burns, it's got a banger of an ending.
Yes. And Michael Huisman.
Yes.
Mikhail Huisman. I think it's Mikhail.
Is it?
Yes.
It's from, he's from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And he's, you know what? Look this guy up because he is a master voice impressionist. He was actually in Avengers Endgame playing the Red Skull because Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back and do the role anymore.
It's interesting. And he was also in Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was the older brother.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he actually came in late to Game of Thrones to take
replaced
over as
Ed Skrein.
Dario.
Yeah, Dario Naharis. He replaced Ed Skrein, who at that point was, I think, had left to join Deadpool. Yeah.
So check that out.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, The Invitation's super good, you guys. Are we still on Peacock?
And girls. Yeah, I have one more from Peacock.
Go for it, because I think, there's a lot on Peacock. The Child's Play movies are all on Peacock. And
yeah,
those
we
are
don't
a
have
real
to recommend
blast.
everything on
Yeah,
Peacock.
I'm just saying, give it a browse. You can't go wrong.
I'm going to recommend The Changeling, which is from 1980, starring George C. Scott. And it is one of the scariest movies that I watched when I was young.
It's a classic Gothic haunted house story.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you like weird, creepy ghost hauntings and, those types of who is it? Is it real?
And it's one of
if you
a
like
classic
the
style
Conjuring
of
type movies. This has that vibe.
There's a lot of frights that are implied. A lot of it's a kind of classic style, and does take place during the Halloween season, so it's kind of a Halloween movie too. That's great. Why don't we do HBO Max next?
I don't have any, so you can run with it.
I've got a few from HBO Max. So it's called HBO Max right now. Who knows what it's going to be called a month from now? But once again, I'm returning to David Bruckner for his movie The Night House, which is on HBO Max. This is a movie that I would classify as scary, but not too gory. It is starring Rebecca Hall, who is always amazing. And it is an absolutely beautiful meditation on loss and grief, letting go, the inability to let go. And on top of that, it's legit terrifying. It's a very scary movie. Rebecca Hall, once again, is wonderful. Another one on HBO Max I recommend everyone check out is Dr. Sleep. Going back to Mike Flanagan. Yeah. Dr. Sleep is
going to Stephen King.
And Stephen King, of course. Now, Dr. Sleep is based on the novel by Stephen King, which was the sequel to The Shining. And Mike Flanagan does the absolute impossible in a few ways. He makes an amazing adaptation of a very good book. He makes a sequel that is both a sequel to the movie and a sequel to the book, which are two very different things, quite famously. The Kubrick version and Stephen King's novel diverge in a lot of ways, but Flanagan manages to marry the two of those together nicely. He also does something that I wish more people would do, talking to you, Marvel. Recast your roles. Stop de-aging people with computer graphics. It never looks good. So they recast Jack Nicholson with Henry Thomas for the flashback scenes. It's wonderful. Dr. Sleep there's an extended version that I highly recommend. It fleshes out the characters a bit more, especially the young girl who is a favorite. Ewan McGregor's wonderful. It's a wonderful movie. It's very scary. Rebecca Ferguson, though, is a standout. She is terrifying in this movie. And my last one on HBO Max is 30 Coins. It's a Spanish series by Alex de Iglesia. It is getting a second season. It's super gory. It is super bananas. Anybody familiar with Alex de Iglesia won't be surprised. It's got its own unique, strange, quirky style, and it is one of those everything but the kitchen sink shows. We've got Roman Catholic conspiracies out of the Vatican, demons, the Antichrist, and then on top of that, there's the drama of telenovela scale with like affairs and dalliances. It's just really all good time. It's a fun ride. So yeah, that's my HBO Max.
Next up, I have Paramount.
Ooh, Paramount Plus.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Their Halloween section is called Now Screaming.
Oh, I get it.
My first recommendation is The Descent.
Oh, shit. That movie's good.
It is really creepy. It's from 2005. It's a caving expedition goes horribly wrong, and it's all female cast. It's quite interesting, quite dark, and gooey.
That's a gory one, folks.
Don't watch it while you're eating dinner or a snack.
It's a bloody affair.
I wouldn't have Jell-O while you're watching this movie, but it's a really great one.
It's a modern classic,
and it's really quick. It's a really fast paced.
Definitely one of the scariest movies out there, for sure. For Paramount Plus, I'm going to go back to the 90s for Event Horizon, which directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who is not a director whose work I normally enjoy. I'm just going to level with you. But Event Horizon is just this wonderful marriage of science fiction and horror. It stars Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill being Sam Neill. I mean, just really chewing the scenery, doing an incredible job. It's basically it's about a ship that uses a new warp drive that opens up a portal to hell. And it's kind of like, so all sorts of stuff goes wrong. It's very, very good. It's quite graphic. It's very scary. It's a classic for a reason.
I'm also recommending A Quiet Place 1 and 2.
For sure.
On Paramount Plus, starring and directed by John Krasinski. It's an amazing movie, both with heart and horror, but also the lack of sound is really well done.
Yeah.
And it adds to the tension so much.
We think so
Emily
much of
Blunt
sound
is
design.
amazing, and the kids that star are also incredible. It's a great 1 and 2 to watch if you're interested.
We think so much of sound design, as additions to a film, and these are wonderful examples of subtracting sound.
Yes.
To heighten the effect.
Absolutely, and it
props
does.
to John Krasinski. He has got the goods as a director. My next Paramount Plus is also from the 1990s, Jacob's Ladder.
Oh.
Which is a real mind
You've talked about
fuck
it
of a movie.
extensively.
Did we? I don't think we have.
No. Okay.
But I think we will revisit
Serpent in
it
the
at a certain
Rainbow, I
point.
think.
Yeah, Serpent in the Rainbow. Now, Jacob's Ladder stars Tim Robbins as a traumatized Vietnam veteran in New York who's having hallucinations. He starts to lose it, and it has a quite a famous twist that I'm not going to give away. It's a very hallucinatory experience. Danny Aiello is in it. Elizabeth Pena is wonderful. And
It's like a fever dream.
It is. A lot of it is very much like a fever dream. It's a strange film, chock full of suggestive imagery, and it's directed by Adrian Lyne, who's much more famous for movies like 9.5 Weeks, Fatal Attraction, and Basic Instinct. So yeah, it's a sexy movie. It's got those moments for sure. But Jacob's Ladder, it'll blow your mind. You're probably gonna have to watch it again because it's a twisty one.
That's all I have for Paramount Plus.
Well, my last Paramount Plus is Saint Maud.
Right.
A24 just came out last year. That's starring Morfydd Clark, who you probably know who's now Galadriel in Rings of Power. It's just a slow burn.
It's a great movie. I'm not
Character
typically
drama.
a slow burn lover, but this one was really, really good
Really
and really
effective.
strange. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really strange and wonderful.
It's a film that is
dark.
it's wonderfully written and directed, but it really does succeed on the strength of Morfydd Clark's performance, which is masterful. She carries the movie.
If you out there were ever forced to go to Catholic Mass,
Yes.
and do catechism and those things, and you felt like there was a disconnection between your beliefs and the beliefs that you were learning about, I feel like this is a really good movie for that too.
It's an examination along the lines of, movies like Repulsion, of a woman who is losing her touch with reality, and that is being as she's losing her grip on the real world, it's being filled by a mounting religious fervor.
Yep.
And those two things in combination usually don't end well, and neither does this.
Sorry. Next up, Shudder.
Let's do it.
I shudder to
Ooh.
think what you are going to pick. Why don't you go first?
I'm going to just lead it off with a movie that wrecked me, that tore me inside out, that blew my mind, and I love so very much, and I'm talking about Mandy.
Oh, right.
It's directed by Panos
Nicolas
Cosmatos.
Cage.
Nicolas Cage, Andrea Riseborough, and Linus Roach create something very strange, very colorful. It's a violent film. It is hallucinatory. Anybody who's seen Beyond the Black Rainbow or is familiar with Panos Cosmatos knows that this director has a very distinct style, but Nicolas Cage gives the performance of a lifetime, and it is so worth a watch. It's really one of the best things I've seen in the last decade.
My first recommendation is The Babadook.
Nice.
So it's about a single mom who
Duck.
became a widow on her way to actually give birth to her son. They were in a car crash, sadly, and she's constantly struggling with her single momhood. And the son, Samuel, is violently afraid of monsters. And there is
he's a handful.
A book in the house about a monster named the Babadook.
It's just a great. It's also.
I don't want to tell you anymore.
It's a very allegorical
it's really
film.
Beautiful. It's sad. It's
a very human film as well. It's about really at its core about relationships.
Absolutely. It's really also conservative with the exposition.
Yeah. It's a lot of show not tell.
Yes.
Yeah. My next one on Shudder is Psycho Gorman, which is actually a comedy. So Psycho Gorman is directed by Steven Kostansky, who did The Void, and he has made a name for himself with practical effects and prosthetics. The short of it is this precocious and possibly psychotic young girl, who is amazingly played by this young actor, finds a glowing stone that has fallen from the sky, and this controls an intergalactic monster named Psycho Gorman. And as long as she has this glowing rock, Psycho Gorman does whatever she wants. So she makes him her best friend, and makes him do things, and then like other aliens come looking for him. It's basically if Power Rangers was rated R and fucking rad. It's hilariously funny. It has a great sense of humor, and the practical effects are so lovingly crafted and so well done that if you have an affinity for that kind of thing, Psycho Goreman is a real treat.
Excellent. This is horror light, not even horror adjacent. So if you like Outlander and Downton Abbey and Harry Potter, Discovery of Witches.
Oh, with Matthew Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matthew Good and Teresa Palmer, who
Right.
is also going to be in another recommendation of mine.
Cool beans.
It's a fantasy series based on the All Souls trilogy, and it's about a historian who finds all these hidden secrets within the research she does of magical creatures and demons and vampires, and it's, just a fun fantasy romp.
Yeah. That's I haven't seen it, but it does give off the vibe of a good time.
If you don't want the blood,
yeah,
check that out. It's a series, and I believe it's in season 3 right now.
So my last Shudder recommendation is Shudder just has an excellent selection of Southeast Asian horror films, specifically from Indonesia and Thailand, also South Korea as well. Now, we're going to be doing more international episodes for sure, but if you just pop in to their Southeast Asian collection and expand your horizons, if you've never seen an Indonesian film, for my money, the most exciting horror coming out of the world today is coming from Indonesia. So movies like Impetigore, Satan's Slaves, the South Korean film The Wailing, the Thai film The Medium, the Indonesian film Queen of Black Magic. These are all on Shudder. Any one of them is worth it. Give them a shot. Broaden those horizons, folks.
Next up,
Hulu.
Called Huluween Thrills and Chills.
Oh, I get it.
I only have a couple. One of them is just maybe a quick, fun thriller type movie called Lights Out.
That was mine too.
Oh, wow.
Lights
Starring
Out
Teresa Palmer.
Lights Out, directed by David F. Sandberg, who went on to do Shazam.
And starring Maria Bello, who I know that you have a fondness for.
Who doesn't? She's an amazing actor. And she's in so many good movies.
Yeah. Someone's, murdered by something supernatural, and there's a creature.
Listen, if you've ever seen the early 2000 movies Darkness Falls, or maybe late 90s, it's essentially that, only good.
Yes. It's quick, it's thrilling.
It's very scary,
it's
and it's PG-13, so you can watch it.
With your kids.
It's not too gory.
With your 13-year-olds.
Nice. Well, that was one of mine too, so I'm going to recommend Prey, but I'm not going to talk about it because we went deep into that.
We did,
on a previous
and it's
episode.
so good.
Just watch Prey. Prey is
Highly
worth
recommend.
it. It is legit horror. It's also got a lot of action, and it's just great. It's just really great. Prey.
So my next and last, both for this episode, bonusode, and on Hulu, is Oculus.
Oh, Mike Flanagan again.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of Mike Flanagan's earliest, before we even knew who Mike Flanagan was, to be honest. Well, me.
I don't know about this
before
wee
I did.
stuff. I had seen Absentia, but...
And it's starring Karen Gillan.
Yeah, Karen Gillan from obviously Nebula and from Doctor Who.
Yep, and Katie Sackhoff.
Oh gosh, Starbuck.
Yeah, so it's essentially about a girl whose parents were violently killed a decade earlier, and now adult siblings are trying to figure out how to be siblings again, and they find a mirror, an antique mirror called Lasser Glass.
It's legit.
And
it's got a real
into
Stephen King vibe too, because it's like a haunted object.
Yeah, I'm trying not to spoiler alert, even though some of these films are...
It takes some great twists and turns.
Yeah, even though these films are a little older, some of them.
No, but if you haven't seen it, it's really worth going in blind because it goes places that you're not expecting.
If you're trying to get into the mood for Halloween and just really gathering, the frights and delights of the month, these are some really great ways to indulge.
Yeah, I just want to quickly cap off Hulu with my last David Bruckner recommendation, The Hellraiser. The new Hellraiser with Jamie Clayton as the role of Pinhead or the Hell Priest. Now, I admit I have not had the time to watch it yet. I've heard great things. I'm a big David Bruckner fan, as you've probably figured out. So why not? I feel pretty confident.
Well, we post all of our monthly recommendations on our Instagram page at Terror in Tandem. So if you want to check those out, those are always a good option. But here's some more options for you if you want to just ride the rest of the month on a thrilling coaster.
Yeah. Thrilling coaster. Like a doily. Well, I hope you enjoyed our first bonusode, everybody.
Bye. Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our Octerrorfest theme and all other music was written and performed by David Suspanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you do, we promise not to haunt you.